Hello Andy, hope you all are doing wonderful preparation. Welcome to our channel Disc Civil Services in Detail, guiding aspirants to become officers. Let's begin our session of the Hindu analysis of September 29, 2025. We are going to discuss the high probable topics from today's newspaper, which having high chances of appearing in your upcoming competitive exams. As I always mention, go to our official Telegram channel, that is disc_civil services in detail, for all the relevant PDFs of content, input, synopsis and answer writing strategies. Of course, in this session, along with this current affairs analysis, we are going to do this answer writing strategies for both prelims and mains. If there will be a question on this particular topic, how may you expect a question from both prelims perspective and mains perspective? So how can you choose the right option in the 4 options given for prelims perspective, and how you can present a wonderful answer if the relevant topic appeared in mains exam. So this is all we are going to discuss in this session. For now, the first most article is AstroSat completes 10 years of operation, is there in the page 12. We are going to discuss there in detail, and this is the very important article of the day. Death toll in Karur tragedy rises to 40. Probe begins. There's a lots of stampedes happening in the recent days, like the one which happened in Vaishno Devi temple, and the one which happened in Pushpa movie release, and the one which happened on the Bengaluru incident, and this is the one again. So there are repeatedly stampedes in news we are seeing, and when the Pushpa incident happened, we discussed very clearly how it is going to impact. What about the land order? What about the disaster management? What about the pre-planning and administrative failures and everything? How lack of proper instructions from both the parties given rise to these death toll and all. So now just remember, this is the political rally which was planned in Karur, and Vijay Kumar was the one who has to attend, and they given permission from 3 to 10 pm, 3 pm to 10 pm, and the people started appearing, gathering since 10 am itself. So once the rally started somewhere around 7.10 something, after then slowly the panic turned into tragedy. Here even the anomaly said why it's definitely a failure of law and order and administrative, because the one who requested for permission has said some 10,000 or 20,000 may gather, but definitely you have to estimate the gathering and the crowd, because the one who is coming is not only a politician who is going to participate in upcoming elections and planning to get this CM and all these things, but he's also a very famous figure from film industry. So definitely there's a huge crowd, huge fan following, so definitely you can expect lots of people. So it's your responsibility to take care of law and order, pre-planned crowd management, disaster management team has to be there, as well as what's the need to give this 7 hours permission when he hardly comes and gives 10 minutes speech or 15 minutes speech. You give him 2 hours or 1.5 hours permission, then the people will gather at that particular space in that particular time zone only. And if you giving 3 to 10, and the one who coming at 7 pm, and just for the sake of 10 minutes, it's completely chaos and administrative failure. This is what few critics saying. Few others are saying it's definitely because of the failure of the party who organized this. So keeping this all aside, there will be definitely question on this. No one will ask you in the exam what are the stampedes happened in the recent times, locations, reasons and death toll and all these things, but of course how it is gonna impact and how it can be taken care of, how these kind of incidents can be avoided. So what can be done for the pre-planning and administrative and from law and order perspective, and this is what state government perspective, arrangements perspective, this is what you have to learn. And for now, just understand, Justice Aruna Jagdishan, who forms the one-member commission of this inquiry instituted by the state government, is begin to inquiring, and there's a lots of controversy and lots of pros and cons and lots of discussions in going on, because of it involved huge loss of life, no. And of course the government has announced the 10 lakh compensation, and the one Vijay has announced 20 lakhs compensation for each. We are going to discuss prelims and mains question relevant to stampedes in recent times which are happening in India especially. We may definitely get a question from mains perspective on stampedes. Stampedes since లాస్ట్ ఫ్యూ మంత్స్ రిపీటెడ్లీ న్యూస్లో ఉన్నాయి కాబట్టి దెర్ ఆర్ 100% ఛాన్సెస్ ఫర్ గెటింగ్ దిస్ క్వశ్చన్. సో క్వశ్చన్ డెఫినెట్లీ ఎలా వస్తుంది, వాట్ ఆర్ ద ఛాలెంజెస్ ఇన్ హ్యాండ్లింగ్ దీస్ కైండ్ ఆఫ్ స్టాంపిడ్స్, how it can be avoided, because if it's definitely man-made and these can be taken care of if you properly follow those rules and regulations provided by the National Disaster Management Act 2005. So questions alage vastayi, vachetappudu answer format should be definitely like meeku oka 300 to 400 words lo దీనికి రెలవెంట్ డేటాని మొత్తం ఒక పేపర్లో రాసి పెట్టుకుంటే క్వశ్చన్ ఎలా వచ్చినా కూడా యూ షుడ్ బి ఏబుల్ టు ఆన్సర్ అండి. యూ హ్యావ్ టు రెడీ విత్ అట్లీస్ట్ 400 to 500 words authentic content for every topic, so that whenever any sort of questions appears on that particular topic you will be like giving an extraordinary answer for that. For this you first definitely you will write definition or meaning, because whenever you are writing something related to stampedes gani lepote mob lynching gani, definitely you have to start with a definition, with a meaning, or at least you can start with a quote or observation which is in news recently, or again it appears in question paper definitely because of the recent incidents which in news kabatti you can start with that. So starting should be like this, and then you will definitely talk about types, and then definitely you will go to factors, then you will write about this causes for stampedes, and then you will mention about this impact, and from there you will talk about this impact to role of different stakeholders like media, social pages, and these national disaster management team, politicians, different stakeholders, science and technology, and finally you will talk about the measures can be taken to control these kind of, and then from constitution perspective, so what are the articles, amendments, cases relevant to, again here you will touch two dimension, that is one articles and second one is, as I already mentioned here, acts. And finally from there you, before going to the conclusion, you will give few examples of again past, present, and you from there draw conclusion. So these are the incidents happened and what can be done to avoid this. And in this again you have to mention few keywords, like when you are talking about types you will definitely talk about this unconditional, immediate, some sort of instant stampedes which rise because of this panic, or which rise because of this the main reasons for stampedes is definitely panic or fear or excitement, right? Again you will talk about, from when you are discussing you will give different perspective, like yes, religious gatherings, social, and then political, and something related to these movies and all. And when you are talking about these factors you will definitely discuss about these factors led to lack of proper organizing, administrative factors, and definitely you will talk about crowd management by both the parties, states role and stakeholders role, as well as when you are talking about causes you will definitely talk about different perspectives as asphyxia, hypoxia, and most importantly electrocution or fire hazard, something like. So these are the causes which happens, which comes or arises out of these stampedes. And impact will give multiple dimensions, like yes, it will definitely first give huge loss to life, huge loss to life, then you will touch this economic perspective, this huge loss to infrastructure, from there you will talk about this environmental loss, and from there you will definitely talk about this health impact, because they may come across different fractures or permanent fractures or injuries or something, and you will definitely talk about these religious and social impacts, and finally you will talk about role of this media, as they can give awareness and they can broadcast what can be done, precautionary measures and all these things. And definitely you will talk about SNT, where you can take help of this camera surveillance and all these things, and definitely you can talk about this NDM, National Disaster Management, and from there measures can be taken. It has to be come from your side, like you can give few examples, like these are the acts, as I already mentioned, Disaster Management Act 2005, Motor Vehicles Act, which is again discussing about this crowds, road management and all these things, 1988, Cinematograph Act 1952 again talks about this taking pictures and managing these rallies and everything. And articles, you can definitely talk about Article 19, where they have to assemble peacefully as per Article 19 and 21, right to life. And yes, Article 47, which talks about states' responsibility to take care of public health. And yes, when it's coming to past and present incidents, we will definitely mention about few incidents, recent incidents. You can talk about Mahakumbh Mela, and Vaishno Devi temple incidents in 2024, and Pushpa movie incident, which happened because again stampede. It was in news because of many reasons. After then, there was a Hathras incident in 2024. That was a stampede which given huge impact and huge loss both to life. And recent stampedes like Delhi uh, railway station stampede, which happened again this Mahagum time. And you can even talk this recent Bangalore Royal Challengers and this Karur incident. And past incidents, you can mention about this 2008 Chamundi Devi temple incident stampede, 2013 Ratangarh temple incident, 2011 Sabarmala temple incident, and like that Hathras, Sabarmala, all this, like say, that's what I'm saying, either it's religious or social or political rallies kind of. So after mentioning all these things, you will definitely talk about what kind of conclusion as an aspirant or as a bureaucrat you want to give, because your suggestions and conclusions should be definitely like, okay, he is the one who has the knowledge and he is the one who is thinking from ethical perspective too. So it has to be taken care of ethical, matured, and constitutional, policy making, governance, law and order, every aspect has to be covered in this conclusion. And again, that conclusion should be again in 3 to 4 lines. So here the presentation matters. I am here giving the format of an answer, how this question can be answered when it's related to stampede. If something appears on you, what it's called, something related to stampede, if they ask, definitely they ask about these challenges, methods, factors, causes, how it can be taken care of, and what's happening. And of course, since last 3 decades, there are nearly 4,000 stampedes happened in India. And you can also talk official reports, which are like National Crime Report titled these accidental deaths and suicides in India, which is giving huge impact and huge observations, which came up with a few suggestions too. And you can also talk about these other reports related to NCRBs, and you can also talk about this 2013 journal, International Journal of Disaster Risk Reduction, which again came up with few observations. You can talk about these also in measures and challenges and consequences. So this is how you have to prepare a concept and prepare a topic, and this is how you frame an answer, and this is how you have to present a mains answer. This is what called answer writing strategy for giving extraordinary answer to any kind of mains questions. So this is all about it. And this one about unstoppable India. Yes, truly unstoppable. So Asia Cup we won, and but we didn't take in the trophy, and there's a lots of different versions we are hearing regarding this. Few saying sportsmanship has to be there and they should not do like this or behave like this. Few are saying it's well appreciable, it's an answer to Pahalgam attack. Even the PM, Honorable PM tweeted that Operation Sindoor on games field, everywhere we wins, India wins. This is what he said. Of course, there's a diverse views and opinions from different people's personalities, patriotism perspective and sportsman perspective. There's a different opinions. No need to go through all these things. Just it's given there in the front page, so just I highlighted. That's it. This is the most important article from today's newspaper. It's relevant to Telangana state bird Palpita's survival threatened. Indian roller, locally known as Palpita, the state bird of Telangana, facing threat during Dasra, especially with the illegal capture and display. And this happens because of many have this superstitious beliefs of seeing or handling them during Dasra brings good luck, or it removes sins and everything. So as a result, many people are caging these palpitas, having their wings clipped and bound, even glued to prevent. So improper diet, stress, injuries following capture frequently lead to their death before or after the festival. And it happens even because of these birds suffer greatly when confined to small cages and exposed to human touch or something, often dying from dehydration or organic failure or drama. Even the many temples increasingly engage these poachers to capture palpitas for devotees. These migratory birds normally feed on insects across fields, but their natural visibility is declining mainly because of this habitat loss and what it's called urbanization. So, Greater Hyderabad Society for Prevention of Cruelty to Animals coordinators, they have came up, they started rescuing, and they are under trained volunteers and veterinary supervision, carefully observing and removing these bindings and bringing these birds back and releasing them into these suitable habitats. So ikkada meer చూసుకోవాల్సింది the one who is preparing for TGPSC, State Board of Telangana Palpita and relevant perspectives, and the one who is preparing for mains or writing something relevant to, you can write it from environment, beliefs, superstition, how it is colliding, and just that's it, nothing more than that. This image, the high demand for ongoing Batkama festival in Telangana, flowers. Recently we have come across these jasmine relevant prices where they said sometime it's 100 rupees, 120 or 140 per kg. A farmer who is growing them is getting, and at market they are selling for 400 to 500. So there's lots of gap between the price which farmer is getting and the market is providing and the market is selling. It's always there, even it's relevant to those vegetables and everything. For now, just remember this is high in demand because of the festival, and yes, of course, everyone wishing you happy Batkama. So this is all about it. And for prelims, it's important. Government is planning to build this future city in collaboration with World Bank, and this is one more important feather added into the Telangana government. To Bharat Future City will create new economic hubs by providing world class. This is the most important article from today. As we are all aware that there are discussions going on UN General Assembly, India-Pakistan spur over terrorism and Pahalgam attack. Even Jaishankar's speech was there without naming the country. Pakistan, he said, being a hub of terrorism, and emphasized that it was behind the Pahalgam terror attack in April. And they also referred to Pakistan as terroristan in its reply. Exercising Pakistan's right of reply, they said deliberate attempt to malign and insult an entire people, accused India of engaging in destabilizing neighboring nations via its intelligence agencies. And ours who said responded, it's telling that a neighbor who was not named choose to nevertheless respond and admit their long-standing practice of cross-border terrorism. It's a kind of spur over this terrorist attack and this cross-border terrorism. Both the nations' diplomats exercises right of reply they were discussing. And of course, we are coming up with a few discussions and observations and this UN General Assembly soon. So here, this is another one which is discussing about India-US relations, not a criterion for Delhi-Moscow ties. So here, Lavo saying that India's relations, whether it's with US or with any other nation, doesn't have to do anything with India's and Russia's particularly privileged strategic partnership. So it depends upon these two nations' interests. It's nothing to do with what other nations are doing with India. That's it. As simple as that. And this is the other one. At UN General Assembly Week, India signals realignment with the Global South, 80th High Level Week. And more than half of approximately 30 one-on-one bilateral meetings with foreign ministers were with the countries of developing nations, as well as others were the multilateral meetings India or our Honorable Mr. Jaishankar hosted, focusing mostly on Global South. So the multilateral meetings included BRICS, India, Brazil, South Africa, and South American countries, India, South American countries, and India, Central American Integration System, Pacific Island countries, L69 developing countries from the Global South, C10 African Union representatives, and this was like high level like-minded countries of the Global South which they are focusing on this cooperation and bilateral relations, so building strong ties. And as Donald Trump called India and China the primary funders of the war in Ukraine and repeated his claim that he ended India-Pakistan conflict in addition to 50% tariffs on Indian goods and visa and immigration cards that affect Indian professionals. The US administration also slapped new tariffs on pharma industries in these weeks. All these were fixed and discussions were going on, and there were even discussions on this Gaza issue. So it's a They covered every aspect in geopolitical landscape, whatever there are statements, tougher situations, and especially acute predicament of the global south during this India statement at this General Assembly debate and everything. We are going to do a separate session on this soon. This is all about this particular article. This one highly important. India will reject China's arrogance of power. Manmohan Singh wrote in one of his last essays. It's highly important for prelims point of view. The title of the essay, A Decisive Decade for India, which is being published in India Stressed with the World, a Foreign Policy Manifesto, which is edited by former External Affairs Minister Salman Khurshid and Human Rights campaigner Salil Shetty. In that, he clearly mentioned a path ahead for the India-China relationship would not be as easy as China displays the arrogance of power that is unacceptable to India, which he mentioned in his essay, which was being published posthumously in September as part of a book. So this is highly important from prelims point of view, the name of the title, and for mains, the ideology which he mentioned that China is a material challenge, it has to become an ideological challenge. China is no longer insisting on its right to pursue its own model of social and economic development. It's undoubtedly economic success, and lately its swift control over the COVID-19 pandemic has encouraged its leadership to promote China model of what some scholars have called authoritarian state capitalism. So this all is relevant from mains perspective. So analysis is for mains and these facts are for prelims. So this is how this article is important. That's it. This one is highly important from today's newspaper. AstroSat, India's first space observatory, completes a decade among the stars. 10 years ago, on September 28, 2015, the PSLV C-30 XL rocket carrying AstroSat lifted off from the Satish Dhawan Space Center in Sriharikota. Though the designed mission life of AstroSat was 5 years, it continues to provide valuable data. The milestone in a post on Twitter, ISRO mentioned this on this day 10 years ago. AstroSat, India's first multi-wavelength astronomy observatory, was launched by ISRO. From black holes to neutron stars, from the nearest Proxima to first-time detection of FUV photons, everything it captured, and high-energy X-rays. Congratulating AstroSat for a successful decade and wishing many more of exciting results and coverage. So this is all about first decade. Completed 10 decades of this first dedicated space astronomy observatory AstroSat. That's it. And just go through the what are the 5 payloads of this ultraviolet imaging telescope, large area X-ray, and cadmium zinc. This is highly important from prelims point of view. This is SNT and collaborative effort of released by ISRO with the participation of all major astronomy institutions, including this. Tata Institute and Raman Research Institute and all these things. That's it, nothing more than that. This one about our Honorable PM's Man Ki Baat, the way Mamata Banerjee calls Mr. Prime Minister, Mr. Busy Prime Minister, Mr. Man Ki Baat Prime Minister. I really wonder she has such guts to call him like that. Anyways, buy local, make country self-reliant. Since few days we are hearing this particular word repeatedly in all the articles relevant to Bachat Utsav, whether it's related to GST, whether it's related to any Independence Day speech, he is focusing on self-reliance, that is Atmanirbhar Bharat, so that we can achieve this Vikasit Bharat. Again, in this address, he mentioned about this India's domestic economy has to be strengthened and vitalize its entrepreneurs. So focus on buy local. इसके पहले कहा गया था कि वोकल फॉर लोकल, स्वदेशी गुड्स के ऊपर ज्यादा फोकस करो, so that it has to improve the economy as well as it has to empower the local artisans and citizens. So he is focusing on his wishes to Diwali, as well as he is also focusing on self-reliance and to make country self-reliant. Individual has to be Atmanirbhar, and then he is focusing on Swadeshi. Then he is mentioned about Khadi sales, and then he mentioned about this GST Bachat Utsav, and he also mentioned about Commander Rupa, who made history by first Indian woman to circumnavigate the globe, which is a double-handed sailing vessel. And he mentioned few other observations regarding RSS, its achievements, Vijayadashmi wishes and all these things. That's it. लेकिन हाँ, मन की बात की highlights आपको important होंगे मेंस पर्सपेक्टिव के लिए. एक बार देख लीजिए, अगर टाइम हो तो एक 10-15 मिनट की बात है, सुनने की कोशिश कीजिए. That's it. This is highly important for both prelims and mains. So I'll do one thing, I'll do a separate session for this with complete in-depth analysis, and I'll release it as the way we did for transgenders. Similarly, we do a separate session for this new age maternity insurance story. We'll cover all the dimensions, and we'll do few PYQs from mains and prelims too, and I'll try to do it today itself. As I already mentioned, this is a celebration moment. Congratulations, Team India. And yes, this is one of the most important article from today. What an empty plate of food should symbolize. It should definitely symbolize a meal enjoyed, but not resources squandered. So September 23rd, the world observes International Day of Awareness of Food and Waste, which will draw attention to a silent crisis that undermines both food climate security. Here in this article, they have discussed about food wastage, food loss, as well as they connected this topic to multiple dimensions, challenges, and what are the initiatives at global and national level the governments are taking, how it can be tackled, what are the supply chain challenges, infrastructure relevant technology use, and fragmented chains of these early warning systems. Everything they covered it in a multiple dimension only. So one of the world largest food producer being India is not immune to this challenge, facing substantial post harvest losses across multiple sectors. So a study in 2022 by NABARD, commissioned by Minister of Food Processing and Industries, they showed that such losses remain alarmingly high throughout the agricultural spectrum. So the economic toil is staggering. They have given few estimations, observations, and studies of percentages of these different vulnerable crops, staples, and how it is giving experience to this significant wastage, as well as each ton of food lost represents not only loss of nutrition, it's also mentioning about the wastage of water, energy, and labor at a time when ecosystems are under pressure, and it has to be taken care of. And they also mentioned about the serious consequences of farmers' income, national food availability, environmental sustainability, and climate stability has to be taken care of, so that this food loss cannot give huge impact on that. And it definitely varies across different crops, value chains, and regions. Identifying where losses occur, they concluded and they connected this topic to climate perspective, that is GHG emissions too. And finally, when they were discussing about these challenges, Government of India has done few surveys for more than 50 crops, and they also discussed about highlights given for the crops, nearly 30 commodities which were generating CO2 emissions, and each year these findings are striking. And they even observed few what is called technical issues, as well as they come up with surveys relevant to FAO, Green Climate Fund, and few other SDGs, Global Food Loss and Wastage in National Indicator Framework. So they given lots of inputs and data. I'll definitely add this slide in our official Telegram channel. Just go through it. So finally, it's saying practical solutions has to be done, because the study shows that in India, especially, this loss happens during the early supply chain, where the handling, processing, distribution, unlike in the high income countries where they are consumer driven. So it has to be taken care of by filling the gap in infrastructure, by filling the gap in the limited technology use, as well as in the fragmented supply chains. And alongside the major infrastructure, affordable keys are key, where solar, cold storage, what it's called low cost cooling chambers, craters for perishable and moisture proof soils, grains, all these are again highly important for maintaining this food stability. So finally, when we were discussing about these tomatoes, these pulses, these vegetables and farmers protest, we discussed exclusively about this refrigerated transport, modern storage, and we even discussed about how these different initiatives like Pradhan Mantri Kisan Sampada Yojana, and which are working as the backbone for food logistics and everything. Even at the retail end, surplus food can be redirected to food banks and community kitchens, while unavoidable waste can be converted into compost, feed, or bioenergy. So the food which produced either should has to reach the plate, or it has to reach to the some destination which where it can be utilized properly. That is what he is suggesting. and food plus loss spans the entire supply chain, demanding shared responsibility. यहाँ क्या बता रहे हैं? Government must integrate loss reduction not only into climate strategy, but they have to invest in resilient infrastructure, and they have to focus. Civil society, academia can drive research and awareness, and consumers can cut waste through mindful choices and support for redistribution. And finally, they are saying saving food means saving climate. Of course, here again saving energy for the sustainable developments, as well as conservation of resources also can be taken care of, and of course it is protecting livelihoods. So finally, an empty plate of food should not symbolize wastage. It should symbolize a meal enjoyed. This is what the complete crux of this article. I'll definitely frame a mains question and post it in our official Telegram channel. Try to answer that in 200 words. That's it. So this is all about this article only. This is all about today's Free Hindu current affairs analysis and answer writing strategies. I hope it's helpful, and please do maintain consistency and study well. Whenever you need any sort of help or assistance or guidance or mentorship, you can happily drop a message. And please try to answer the questions which we are uploading. Have a fantastic day. Thank you.